Hello to all. Здравствуйте. Bonjour. I'm trying. So, Ken told us that in Silicon Valley, many people knew about or know about wargaming, but very few knew that it's from Belarus. And I would add one thing, that probably in Silicon Valley, even fewer people know startups from Belarus who are not wargaming or masquerade. And this is not only Silicon Valley. This is, well, I'm from Paris. In Paris, not many people know about Belarusian startups or startups from other countries of Central and Eastern Europe or from Latin America or from other emerging markets. And I would even say that we are all, if you don't live in the Silicon Valley or in very famous hotspots like London, Berlin, or perhaps Paris or China, you have a disadvantage. It's the lack of visibility of whatever you do. You can do the same thing, exactly the same thing, or even better than a Silicon Valley entrepreneur, but it might be harder to get the visibility among investors, clients, partners, etc., etc. So this is what I call the invisible innovation. You can work hard, and you may succeed, but it will be harder from this point of view of international visibility. So, by the way, I forgot to tell you who I am. East West Digital News is a news and research agency that focuses on innovation, startups, investors, tech parks, and legislation, investment activity in Central and Eastern Europe. We cover Russia, Ukraine, and are doing our first projects in other countries, including Belarus. So this is what we're going to I'm going to tell you about. Well, I'm not going to tell you a lot about this, just to underline the fact that this is an important region, that you know all this by heart, because you live here. But in Silicon Valley, Paris, or Beijing, few people know about it. Few people know about that. You know how they call Yandex? They call it the Russian Google. But they should say Google is the American Yandex, because Yandex Yandex started well before Google. Very unfair, isn't it? So what does it make in figure? What is to be invisible? I will show you. So I don't know, Mike Butcher is here in this event, perhaps you can see that. This is not very scientific. We took a couple of days and studied all their articles. It might be slightly different if you take a very large period, of course, but this is the idea. America, perhaps a bit of Asia and Europe, and emerging markets are virtually ignored. It's not only TechCrunch. It's a problem with the mainstream media. We did it over plenty of we see that every day. We write about things from Eastern Europe, and we're the only one to write about it, because mainstream media, they don't care. It's not only mainstream media don't care, it's because also you, the entrepreneurs and the investors from these emerging countries, you don't always do all the necessary to get there, because Crunchbase is a user-generated content database. And we noticed that many startups from these countries, Russia, for example, or Ukraine, they're not even bothered being put there. They could do it, but they don't do it. So it's not only from the side of the media, it's also a lack of... So it's the same story. So there are many factors of this situation. It's not only the fact that journalists don't care. Why don't they care? Because their audience is used to read about, you know, what they see around them, and they're not really interested in, and this is a vicious circle. The audience is not expecting that, and the journalists don't write, and because the audience is not expected, and the audience doesn't know about it because the journalists don't write about it, the kind of thing. Sometimes simply the journalists don't speak the language, so there's a lack of information, of available information, and if they don't speak Chinese, how do you want them to write in Chinese about China or Russia or Serbia if they don't know the languages? There are plenty of reasons like that. So here are a few ideas. Here are a few cases of countries who are struggling with this. I told you we started in Russia, covering the Russian innovation scene a few years ago. And there are, well, Russia is a big country from the point of view of innovation, so there are articles of Russia, but they are still very rare and in comparison with other countries. When there's a billionaire, an oligarch doing something, you can be sure that Bloomberg and even the television and TechCrunch and all the like will write a lot about it. But when there's an interesting startup that still has not won a big international award, it probably will remain ignored. And we're the only ones so far to publish everyday news about these countries. And we're doing the same for some other countries of Central and Eastern Europe. In Bulgaria, this is another example. There are very interesting things happening there too. But, well, it's another example of country that is virtually ignored on the international media scene, and consequently, few investors and international corporations come there. And there's one exception. They do wonderful events. So people get to know about Bulgaria because they come to events. And then they discover, wow, that's very interesting. So the international visibility of Bulgaria is perhaps more through events than through media. And hence the importance of Venture Day Minsk. You know, it's very good that there is such events and that people are invited from other countries. And I really hope that in the next few years there will be more and more international dimension of this event. And that's a way to make the country more visible internationally. Estonia is another example, but it's a success story, as you know, because everyone knows about Estonia on the international tech scene because of, you know, these success stories like Skype, TransferWise, or Pipedrive, and so this is a factor. But also the government has done things, interesting things. They have well-designed initiatives like the e-residency program, and not only well-designed, well-marketed. They did a fantastic promo campaign about that. You probably heard about it. Who heard about e-residency in Estonia? Well, 24 persons here. Not bad, not bad. So, and the government at the highest level is getting involved. By the way, I heard that a group of investors and market players is now having talks with Mr. Lukashenko and the government and the parliament to make some reforms to make startups' life a little bit easier and investors' life a little easier. So this is also important that the government is involved in international promotion and in internal improvement of the system. Another example is Bosnia. This is the image that many of us have about Bosnia, because there was a civil war 20 years ago, but there's not only a sad history in Bosnia, there is also very interesting things happening, and there are 3 very strong technoparks and several initiatives and interesting startups there too. But once again, the problem is that it's psychologically associated with something else because of history and because of the mindset of the mainstream media. So, what we've been doing over the last few years is covering Russia through news sites and industry reports. So specific industries are highlighted, and then people from every country read about Russian e-commerce or Russian online video, or even from China. We did something to target Chinese players so that they know better about China. We did the same in Ukraine. We published the first ever study about venture activity in Ukraine. Before that, no one knew. Even the Ukrainians didn't know how many millions were invested in startups every year in the country. And of course, international investors didn't know either. So we were the first ones to publish such reports. And I would like to tell you more about this initiative, because this is directly connected to Belarusia. We are now conducting a research about the startup scenes and investors across all the region, including Belarusia. This is why I'm here, by the way. One of the reasons why I'm here with my team. So in this report, there will be a section about Belarusia. We would like to put fascinating content, not only about wargaming and masquerade. Of course, that will be there. But we would also like that remarkable initiatives from tech parks, from startups, from investors, from other players, be there in this study. This study will be sent to dozens of thousands of people in the world. It's made in partnership with Crunchbase. This is 500,000 readers, 500,000 users who will be informed about this study. VentureBeat, other big media in the region and internationally. So this is an opportunity to get more visible, to no longer be invisible if you're doing interesting things in this country. So this is a call. This is a call to all of you. If you have an interesting startup, an interesting project, if you're an investor, if you are a tech park, an accelerator, media, and you want to bring content in this study. We also have sponsorship opportunities if you want to have a special insight about a particular initiative or a tech park or something like that. So there are plenty of ways you can contribute to this report, making your activity and your country more visible internationally. So feel free to come to me afterwards or to write me a message and to contribute to that. So thank you very much for your attention.